Welcome to Threads of Truth, where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation.
Today, we are going to walk through a vanishing act that is, in many ways, functionally impossible. We're talking about the 1989 disappearance of Patricia Meehan.
And the reason we call it impossible is because this mystery doesn't start in some remote, unseen place. It starts right at the scene of a car accident, on a highway, with witnesses watching.
Exactly. Patricia Meehan causes a collision on this dark Montana highway. She gets out of her car. Witnesses see her.
But instead of, asking for help or checking on the other person,
She just calmly walks away, climbs a fence, heads into an empty field, and is never officially seen again.
it's this core paradox that's so baffling, isn't it? How can someone be physically there, observed, part of this wreck?
And yet in the next moment, just
Oh,
gone. It's like she's present and absent simultaneously. It leaves you with this feeling of impossibility.
That's the crucial question we really want to explore for you today. We're going to unpack the really strange circumstances around that last confirmed sighting.
Look into the psychological theories that sprang up almost immediately because her actions were so unusual.
And try to understand why this particular case, this really bizarre vanishing, still holds such power online, even decades later. Why it became this piece of digital folklore. Okay, so let's ground ourselves first. Who was Patricia Meehan before this night?
Right. In 1989, she was 37 years old. And her background is interesting. It sort of hints at someone searching for something different.
She wasn't originally from Montana, right?
No, she was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And for a time, she'd been a flight attendant, which, suggests a certain kind of energy, a lot of interaction with people.
But she made a big change.
A huge change. In the years leading up to 89, she moved out to Bozeman, Montana, apparently seeking a much quieter life, a more solitary life, really.
And she took a job that reflected that.
Yeah, she started working as a ranch hand. Reports say she had a real love for animals, for the open space that Montana offered. So it seems like a conscious shift away from her previous life.
Trading the busy airports for the quiet ranch. But it sounds like that quiet life didn't actually bring her peace. The lead up to April 20th seems critical here, her mental state.
It absolutely is. And the signs were, they were alarming. People close to her, family, even her landlord back in Bozeman, they noticed significant changes, worrying changes.
How was she described?
The phrase that comes up is extreme stress. And it wasn't just nerves. She was described as being hyper, really agitated, restless, behaving in ways that were, quote, out of the ordinary.
So this wasn't just feeling a bit down. This sounds like a building crisis.
Definitely. And we know it was serious because she'd actually reached out. She told her father back in Pittsburgh that she felt overwhelmed, that she wanted to leave Montana to come home.
So she was actively thinking about escaping her situation.
She was. And here's the really heartbreaking detail, the one that just casts this whole thing in such a tragic light regarding mental health.
What's that?
She had an appointment scheduled with a psychiatrist for the very next day, the day after she disappeared.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So she knew she needed help. Her family knew. But the crisis it peaked on that highway before she could get that professional help. The stress wasn't just some vague feeling. It was clearly driving her towards something drastic.
Okay, so we have this picture. A woman under immense psychological pressure, far from home. The night of April 20th, 1989. Where exactly was she?
She was near Circle, Montana, which is pretty remote, driving on Highway 200.
And this highway, it's not like a busy interstate, is it?
Not at all, especially not late at night. It's part of what they call the High Line up there.
Mm-hmm.
Very sparse traffic, long stretches of, nothing.
And the accident itself?
It was serious and highly unusual. Patricia was driving, and this is key, on the wrong side of the road.
Directly into oncoming traffic.
Essentially, yes. She caused a head-on, or very near head-on, collision with another vehicle.
And who was in the other car?
This adds another layer of reliability to the witness account. The other driver was a woman named Carol Heights. And critically, she was an off-duty police dispatcher.
Ah, so someone trained to observe, to handle stressful situations.
Precisely. Which makes her description of what happened next carry significant weight.
Did other people stop?
Yes, almost immediately. Despite the remote location, other drivers did stop to help. So this wasn't something that happened in total isolation. There were witnesses to the immediate aftermath.
Okay, so the crash happens, people stop.
Yeah.
What you'd expect next is chaos, maybe injuries, panic.
Right, especially from the person who caused the accident, you'd think. But that's not what witnesses described at all. It was something else entirely.
What did Carol Heights and the others see?
They said Patricia got out of her wrecked car, seemed physically okay, remarkably, but she was completely unresponsive to the situation. Carol Heights said Patricia walked up to her.
To apologize, to ask if she was okay.
No, nothing like that. Heights said Patricia just stared blankly at her, didn't say a word. The description Heights used was chilling. She said it was like Patricia was looking right through her.
Just a blank stare. No emotion.
None reported. Just this complete lack of interaction. No words, no apparent shock or fear about the crash she'd just caused. It suggests this profound disconnect from reality.
And then what? This is the vanishing part.
This is it. After just standing there, staring, witnesses watched as she turned around, calmly walked away from the wreck, across the highway.
Towards where?
Towards a fence that ran alongside the road. She got to the fence, and again, very calmly, just climbed over it.
Climbed a fence after a car crash.
Climbed the fence, and then just started walking directly into the dark, open field on the other side. No hesitation, just walked off into the blackness and disappeared from their sight.
It sounds almost robotic, determined but detached.
That's the impression you get. Ignoring the accident, the people, the danger, just this one single action, walk away.
And her car? What did the police find when they got there?
That just adds to the strangeness. Her car's engine was still running.
Still running.
Yep. Headlights were on. And all her personal belongings, her purse, her wallet, her ID, everything was still inside the car, untouched.
So she took absolutely nothing with her.
Nothing. Which really signals, no plan for travel, no attempt to keep her identity or money. It feels like a complete and total abandonment of everything connected to her life right there in that moment.
So the police arrive. They've got this bizarre scene, a running car, belongings inside, witnesses saying the driver just walked off into a field. What's their first move?
Well, first, they trace the car, quickly find out it's registered to Patricia Meehan back in Bozeman.
Yeah.
Which is like 380 miles away.
380 miles. That immediately raises questions. Why was she driving all that way to Circle, Montana, and on the wrong side of the road?
Huge questions. Still unanswered, really. But given the immediate situation, the woman walking into the field, the response was a massive search right away.
Did they use tracking dogs?
Oh, yeah. They brought in dogs. Search teams fanned out into that field, trying to follow the path the witnesses saw her take.
And did the dogs find anything? A trail?
They did initially. It confirmed what the witnesses said. The dogs picked up her scent, and the teams found footprints. They followed this trail for a pretty significant distance.
How far are we talking?
Reports vary slightly, but generally somewhere between 3/4 of a mile and a full mile from the highway, leading southwest, deeper into that open, empty terrain.
Okay, so they're following her path for almost a mile, and then
The trail just stops, vanishes.
sobs, like in the middle of an open field. How does that happen?
That's the second huge puzzle in this case, isn't it? You'd expect footprints to continue if she kept walking, or signs if she collapsed, but they just ended abruptly.
Which must have immediately shifted the investigation.
Completely. That sudden stop, the lack of any further trace, it basically forced investigators to consider an outside factor. They couldn't explain how she just evaporated on foot.
So what did they think happened at that vanishing point?
The dominant theory, almost immediately, was that she must have been picked up, that she encountered someone or a vehicle out there in the field about a mile from the road.
Was there anything to support that? Any reports of vehicles?
There was one potentially crucial, though unverified, report. Someone mentioned seeing a large vehicle, specifically a hay truck, in that general area around the time of the incident.
A hay truck.
Yeah. And that detail became sort of the cornerstone of the initial police theory, that maybe this disoriented woman stumbled upon this truck, or the driver saw her and she was given a ride away from the scene.
Either willingly because she was confused or
Maybe
unwillingly.
both possibilities had to be considered. Did she hitch a ride? Or did something more sinister happen after she got into that vehicle? The hay truck theory was their attempt to bridge the gap between that last footprint and her complete disappearance.
So just to recap the core strangeness. Woman under intense stress, 380-mile drive, wrong side of the road crash, blank stare, climbs a fence, walks a mile into a field, Footprints vanish, possible hay truck involved.
It's a scenario practically designed to generate theories and speculation, isn't it?
And generate speculation it did. This case didn't stay quiet for long, did it?
Not at all. The sheer strangeness of it, walking away from your life like that, created this vacuum. And the media and the public absolutely rushed in to fill it. It quickly took on this almost mythic quality.
And that mythic quality got a massive boost from one particular TV show.
Oh, absolutely. Unsolved Mysteries. They featured Patricia's case later in 1989, just a few months after she vanished. And, I mean, everyone watched that show back then.
Yeah, it was huge. So her face, her story, suddenly it's beamed into millions of homes across the country.
The impact was instantaneous and overwhelming for investigators. The number of tips, alleged sightings, it just exploded.
How many are we talking about?
It's an almost unbelievable number.
Yeah.
Over the next few years, police received reports of over 5,000 alleged sightings of Patricia Meehan.
5,000? That's
Yeah.
staggering. Most missing persons cases get, what, a handful of tips?
Exactly. Maybe dozens if they get media attention. 5,000 is just, it's on another level. It speaks to how much this specific story captured the public imagination.
Where were people claiming to see her? Was there a pattern?
There was, yeah. The sightings tended to cluster geographically, mostly along the major travel routes out of Montana, especially Interstate 90.
So highways connecting Montana west towards Washington, east towards Minnesota.
Precisely. And the locations were often predictable. Places where a transient person might be seen. Truck stops, roadside diners, sometimes shelters. People would report seeing a woman who looked like her, often appearing dazed or confused, maybe working short-term jobs like waiting tables.
Let's unpack that number, though. 5,000 sightings. Psychologically, what's going on there? She couldn't possibly have been in 5,000 places.
No, of course not. It really highlights this powerful human need for closure and what psychologists sometimes call psychological projection.
How does that work here?
Well, you see this compelling, unresolved story on unsolved mysteries. You see your picture. It plants this image, this archetype in your mind, the lost woman wandering maybe with amnesia.
And people want to solve it.
Desperately. So unconsciously, people start scanning their environment. They see someone who vaguely fits the description, maybe a woman alone at a truck stop who looks a bit down or lost, and their brain kind of fills in the blanks. It matches the narrative they're holding.
So they project Patricia's identity onto strangers.
Often, yes. It's usually well-intentioned, people wanting to help. But it leads to this flood of ultimately mistaken identifications. The sheer volume tells us more about the audience's desire for an answer than it does about Patricia's actual movements.
Okay, so despite those thousands of tips, the real investigation seemed to circle around a few core theories. What were the main possibilities they considered?
Broadly, yeah, it boiled down to three main lines of thinking to explain how she vanished after walking away.
Let's walk through them. What's theory number one?
Theory one, amnesia, specifically a dissociative fugue state. This one gained a lot of traction early on, and frankly, it has a strong clinical basis given what we know about her mental state.
Supported by her family, too, isn't it?
Yes, her family leaned towards this. The idea is that the combination of her pre-existing extreme stress and then the sudden trauma of the car crash, even if she wasn't obviously physically injured, a head impact is possible, triggered a major psychological break.
Like a defense mechanism kicking in.
Exactly. Yeah. Leading to dissociative amnesia, or more specifically, a fugue state. The crash acts as that acute trigger, her blank stare, that robotic way she walked away. It fits the profile of someone who is dissociated from their own identity.
So in this state, what would have happened next?
She might have lost all memory of who she was, where she came from. She wanders away, maybe gets that ride in the hay truck or some other vehicle and just keeps going. Potentially takes up a new temporary identity, working odd jobs, completely unaware that she's Patricia Meehan from Pittsburgh.
But how practical is that long term? Surviving for potentially years with no memory, no resources, wouldn't that be incredibly difficult?
It's definitely the major challenge to this theory. But a fugue state isn't always total incapacitation. People often retain basic functional skills: how to talk, how to work simple jobs, how to find food and shelter. They can operate on a kind of autopilot.
So the sightings at diners or truck stops, well, maybe not her specifically, could fit the type of life someone in a fugue state might lead.
They could. It suggests survival through simple transient means, which is plausible within a fugue state framework. It doesn't require complex planning, just basic functioning.
Okay, what's the second major theory?
Theory 2. Voluntary disappearance. This one suggests she chose to vanish, that it was an intentional act, a calculated escape from the pressures in her life.
Like she used the crash as an opportunity.
Sort of. Given that we know she was overwhelmed, wanted to leave Montana, maybe she saw the accident as a dramatic way to stage her own disappearance and start over somewhere else. Her calm demeanor walking away could, maybe, be interpreted as focus, as determination to leave that life behind.
It's a compelling idea, the thought of just walking away from everything.
It is. It taps into that fantasy of escape. But there are pretty significant problems with this theory.
Like leaving the car running and all her stuff.
Exactly. If you were planning to disappear and start fresh, wouldn't you take your wallet, your ID? Wouldn't you try to quietly liquidate assets beforehand? Her actions seem much more impulsive, much more indicative of disorientation than of a pre-planned escape.
Yeah, driving 380 miles to crash on the wrong side of the road and then walk into a field with nothing. That doesn't sound like a well-thought-out plan.
It really doesn't. It makes the voluntary disappearance theory seem less likely despite its narrative appeal.
Which brings us to the third category of theories, the grimmer possibilities.
Theory 3. Foul play or tragedy. This covers two main scenarios. First, the possibility that something bad happened after she walked away.
Related to being picked up.
Potentially. If she did get into a vehicle in the hay truck or something else with a stranger, especially in a vulnerable, disoriented state, foul play becomes a real possibility. Maybe the driver had bad intentions.
Has any evidence ever surfaced to support that?
No. That's the thing. Despite extensive searches over the years, no remains have been found, no evidence of a struggle. Nothing concrete to point towards foul play in that field or nearby.
Okay, so what's the other possibility under this tragic outcome theory?
Simply that she succumbed to the elements. Exposure.
Out there on the Montana plains?
Yes. It was April, potentially still cold at night. If she was disoriented from the crash, maybe had an unnoticed injury, walking nearly a mile into that dark, empty terrain, she could easily have gotten lost, collapsed from hypothermia or injury, and simply never been found.
The area is vast and remote enough for that to be possible.
Absolutely. It's a harsh environment. Her body could still be out there, undiscovered after all this time. It's a bleak thought, but without any evidence pointing elsewhere, it remains a possibility.
There's another layer to this story, isn't there? Something beyond just the facts of the case that really captured people's imagination. This idea of the mirror moment.
Ah, yes. This comes from one witness account, or perhaps an interpretation of accounts, that became incredibly significant in how the story was told.
What was the detail?
The claim, or the interpretation, was that just before Patricia turned and walked away, she seemed to pause and look. Maybe at the wreckage, perhaps catching her own reflection in the twisted metal or broken glass.
Looking at herself.
Or at least that's how it was framed. Whether she was literally seeing her reflection or just staring blankly at the shiny, damaged surfaces, that image, the woman confronting the wreckage, maybe confronting herself, became incredibly potent.
And the media ran with that.
Oh, definitely. It led to her being called things like the woman who looked at herself and vanished, which is, incredibly evocative phrasing.
It shifts it from a simple disappearance to something deeply symbolic.
Totally. It stops being just about a car crash and becomes about identity, where she's seeing herself, a fractured version of herself, a self she didn't recognize or wanted to escape. That mirror moment metaphor transformed the narrative.
And that's the angle that really took off online in forums and discussions years later.
Exactly. When the internet started dissecting cold cases, Patricia Meehan's story was perfect fodder for this kind of interpretation. People discussed her less as just a missing person and more as this symbol of identity loss, of an existential crisis made manifest. That moment of looking became shorthand for facing a broken self and choosing to abandon it.
It taps into something quite deep, that fear of losing yourself under pressure.
It really does. Her walking into the literal darkness of the field becomes this powerful metaphor for walking away from the overwhelming complexities and stresses of modern life. And you have to remember the context of the late 80s, too.
How so?
Shows like Unsolved Mysteries were creating these cultural archetypes out of missing people. They turned individuals into symbols. Patricia Meehan became the archetype of the vanishing self, the person who dissolves under pressure, amplified by that media environment.
Let's dig a bit deeper into the psychology here. You mentioned dissociative fugue as the most clinically plausible theory. Can we unpack that a bit more?
Sure, it's important because Patricia's known state that extreme stress, the scheduled psych appointment, makes her almost a textbook candidate for this kind of reaction to a major trauma like the car crash.
How is it different from just, say, amnesia from hitting her head?
It's more complex. Simple amnesia might wipe out memory of the event, but dissociative fugue involves a more profound break. It includes that loss of memory for one's personal identity, plus sudden, unexpected travel away from home or one's usual surroundings.
So the wandering aspect is key.
Absolutely. The person literally flees their life, but without conscious awareness of doing so. They might assume a new, often simpler identity temporarily, or they might just wander in a state of confusion about who they are. And crucially, it's almost always triggered by severe stress or trauma.
Which Patricia clearly had. The stress and then the crash itself.
Both boxes ticked. So the crash could easily have been that final acute trigger that pushed her over the edge into this state. Her behavior, the blank stare, the calm, almost automated way she walked away fits perfectly. She wasn't logically deciding to leave. Her mind was, in a way, protecting itself by shutting down her identity.
And the idea of her working transient jobs later, does that fit?
It can, yes. As we touched on, people in fugue states often retain procedural memory how to do things, even if their personal episodic memory is gone. They might gravitate towards simple, low-interaction jobs that don't require ID or a background check. So while the specific sightings were likely mistaken, the pattern of activity reported aligns with potential fugue behavior.
Okay, but let's talk about the evidence itself, especially those witness accounts. You mentioned the 5,000 sightings and psychological projection. How reliable are eyewitness accounts in general, especially in traumatic situations like a car crash?
That's a huge issue in many cases, including this one. Eyewitness reliability is notoriously fragile. High stress, like being in or witnessing a car accident, can significantly distort memory and perception. Details get mixed up, sequences change.
So even the initial accounts from the crash scene might have some inaccuracies.
It's possible. While Carol Heights was a trained observer, the situation was still chaotic and traumatic for everyone involved. And then you add the layer of media saturation later.
With the Unsolved Mysteries broadcast.
Right. Once her face and story are everywhere, suggestibility becomes a major factor. People want to help, they want to solve it. Their memories can become contaminated by the information they've consumed. They might see someone who vaguely resembles the photo and their brain makes the connection, even if it's not accurate.
So the sheer volume of sightings, the 5,000 plus late, might actually be evidence of the story's cultural impact rather than Patricia's actual presence.
In large part, yes. It becomes more of a sociological data point about how we react to mystery in media, rather than a reliable trail of her movements. You have to filter those reports very, very critically.
So here we are, over 36 years later, Patricia Meehan is still officially missing. No confirmed sightings, no body found, no definitive proof of foul play. Just ambiguity.
Complete ambiguity. And that lack of resolution is precisely why her story continues to resonate so strongly. It's this haunting metaphor for losing oneself.
Literally lost in the landscape, but maybe figuratively lost long before that due to the stress.
Exactly. It speaks to how fragile our sense of self, our identity can actually be. How quickly memory and personal history can potentially be erased by trauma, leaving behind someone who is functional, perhaps, but disconnected from their past.
A kind of walking ghost.
In a way. And that idea resonates deeply today, I think, especially in online communities where people grapple with anxiety, identity, mental health, the pressures of modern life, the desire to escape it all.
Her case becomes this sort of ultimate cold case canvas.
Perfectly put. It's an open mystery with that crucial piece Patricia herself missing. It allows for endless interpretation, endless projection. She embodies that archetype we talked about, the vanishing self, the person who just opts out, whether consciously or unconsciously.
It really underscores that some mysteries might have their roots deep inside the mind, not just in external events.
And thinking of that internal aspect, that potential fugue state, brings us back to a really difficult, almost philosophical question about identity.
Which is?
If we entertain the possibility that she did enter a fugue state, that she survived, maybe built some kind of new life somewhere, completely unaware of Patricia Meehan and the stress she carried, unaware of her family.
Yeah.
Then you have to ask yourself, What is that existence?
Mm.
Is it purely a tragedy, the loss of her original life, her connections, her history? Or is there an element of radical escape? An unconscious, maybe even effective way her mind found to survive unbearable pressure by completely shedding the past? Is it loss? Or is it a strange, profound form of psychological self-preservation?
That's a heavy thought to leave our listeners with. Is it loss or is it escape?
It encapsulates the whole tragedy and the enduring mystery of Patricia Meehan, doesn't it?
We have just finished exploring the haunting intersection of identity, memory, and disappearance represented by Patricia Meehan. It's a case that really does remind you that sometimes the biggest voids aren't out in the world, but maybe inside the human mind.
And while we delve into the theories and the folklore, it's crucial to remember this is still an open missing persons case. If anyone listening has any credible information, however small it might seem, regarding Patricia Meehan's whereabouts, they are still urged to contact the Macomb County Sheriff's Office in Montana.
Thank you for walking through the unsettling details of this enduring mystery with us today.
Next time on Threads of Truth, we'll examine the baffling disappearance of Henry McCabe, a man whose final voicemail left investigators and listeners, well, deeply unsettled.